take my 20 stars when I wanted to see all of them lighten my dark side. But in the end, underwear still hanging on the same washing line as mine. That's what you call it love. The love that perfected the art or persecution.
27-year-old Dani Apriyani has been writing poems and short stories since she was 15. She had many aspirations to be a teacher, librarian, or a news reporter. But when Dani learned how much senior high school would cost, she didn't dare bring it up to her parents. At 23, she left her hometown in Indramayu, Indonesia, and came to Singapore for the first time.
When I came first time to Singapore, I was sad because, of course, I miss my family, and the last day before I fly to Singapore, I didn't meet them. I mean, my agency didn't allow me to meet them for the last time. My employers, I mean, I was scared, like, how are they going to treat me? Are they going to treat me well or badly? I was just scared about that.
Lonely and afraid, Dani wrote poetry and funny stories to make herself laugh. If he could, Sobor would be a writer. He's written newspaper articles and even published a poetry collection back in Bangladesh. Sobor wanted to keep studying, but he's the youngest of 8 children, and there wasn't enough money to go around.
One day, I see my father discuss about my mother. He feel very sad, how to take care of my children, how to take care of my family. Very, very sad. I hear his voice, then I stop my study. I help my father.
He came to Singapore almost 10 years ago to work as a construction worker. It was his first job, and Sobor struggled at the beginning.
Actually, it's not hard job, but first time job. Before, I never do anything. I just play, writing, enjoy my life, enjoy my time, enjoy my day. Then suddenly I come, but I don't know how to walk. It's very hard. Whole day walking, every day walking.
Writing was his source of comfort. He wrote about love for his family, hometown, and country. Dani and Sobor are among 1.3 million migrant workers in Singapore, doing labor-intensive but essential work that citizens shun. Men from Bangladesh, India, and China do construction work, building roads, homes, and subway stations. In parts of Indonesia and the Philippines, generations of women leave their families to cook, clean, and babysit other people's children. Migrant workers make up almost a quarter of Singapore's population, but oftentimes their voices are drowned in the bustling lion city. The Migrant Worker Poetry Competition is a platform for them to tell their stories and to have Singaporeans listen. The annual competition has grown since it was first held in 2014. Volunteers in neighboring Malaysia have launched a similar competition.
When they started first in 2014, we had only 28 participants, and they were all male. Almost all of them were from Bangladesh, except for one guy from India. Over the time now, in 2017, we have had 107 participants.
Everyone, and thanks a lot for coming down on a Sunday.
They are from 8 nationalities, with 10 languages. 80% of them are women.
With the money they send home, migrant workers help their families afford a better life. They can build bigger houses and pay for their children's education. Some call it the Singapore dream. But life here can be a struggle.
For the domestic workers, it's pretty common to hear very long hours of work, even though some of them have access to a regular off day, but there are still many who don't. For the male workers, work injury compensation, even though there is a system in Singapore. However, again, that fear of being repatriated should they report the injuries to MOM is always overhanging in their minds.
Poetry gives them an outlet to express their fears.
They're talking about not just missing home through their work, but they're also talking about real issues and concerns of such marginalized communities. And rather than someone else talking about these issues, when the migrant workers themselves talk about these issues in their own voice, it has a lot more power and reaches the audience of wider Singaporeans a lot more impactfully.
Regards. Yes, I am a bus too. Thank you.
It also empowers the migrant workers, making them feel valued and appreciated by the society they serve.
And they see their work being showcased in museums or galleries or published as books.
Our brother, you can buy $25.
They feel that the wider society appreciates their contribution and also appreciates the quality of their creative work. And this gives them the encouragement not just to carry on, but also as role models for their families back home and for other migrant workers.
These workers aren't just concerned with their own struggles. They also use poetry to comment on social issues. Danny's entry for the poetry competition is about a case of domestic abuse she heard from a woman in her hometown.
Further away, like the dusty fan staring down the abandoned room. Do I have to hold the guilt of killing an innocent creature? Did I cross your mind? She told me her story while she's crying as well with me. I don't know her name. I don't know where she is now. Is she alive or not? But her story is so sad for me. She was just saying, I have a husband that's not good at all. He hates me and we are not happy with our relationship, but I stay still with him because she said she loved him. I mean, like this lady, I mean, even she's being abused, she's being hurt. Her heart like is just so pure, like she still loves this man.
Sober also writes about love. He writes about his childhood and the longing for his homeland.
শীতের সকালে মায়ের হাতের গরম গরম ভাপা পিঠা
অলস বৃষ্টিতে ভুনা খিচুড়ি কখনো বা ঝালমুড়ি কখনো বা গভীর রাতে রাত করে বাড়ি ফেরায় বাবার করা শাসন. When people leave the home, go overseas, they never forget. But he act to forget. But he feel, every moment feel his home country, the knowing face, father face, wife face.
Director, go. I'm producer. I'm boss.
Sober and his friends spend their off days at a literary non-profit Singlit station, where local authors, poets, and playwrights mentor migrant workers in various art forms.
We see a lot of yearning for home, which is a normal migrant and diasporic theme. So there's a lot of awareness that they are in somebody else's home and not their own home, and that they're a long way away from home, and that back home in their original country things have changed, and especially with their family and their kids or their elderly parents.
Thanks to the poetry competition, these migrant workers have found a second family away from home.
Because you read the poem, so it's good.
It's created a community they look to for advice, support, and feedback on their writing.
If I ask somebody, he no like writing and reading, he say, oh, no time lah, go lah. When I get my friends who like the poet, I can discuss, I can email, I can chatting, WhatsApp, Messenger. Hey, I writing this, can you check for me? It's okay or no?
Week, a former participant, helps Sober translate his poems from Bengali to English.
Sometimes Google translation is not that good way to poem because the word is not poetic enough. So sometimes I just ask him, this line, what do you want to say? what the meaning. Then I will try to find the more poetic words to put it in. Then
At last, the moment of truth.
Danny's poem really stood out in a way that was really unanimous with the judges because of its very emotional quality. It was kind of complex as well, and it really touched the heart. We really felt that the poet was trying to say something really important, something meaningful, and that was also very universal to the reader.
Danny is overjoyed with her win. And more than that, she wants Singaporeans to know that migrant workers like her are more than the work they do.
We are all just same like them. We are human beings. We have feelings. We have jokes. And I hope they would understand that we are here to work. Some of us might be leaving for good one day. And I just hope that everyone is being friendly towards migrant workers.
These migrant workers know their time in Singapore is transient. Sober dreams of setting up a small business, while Danny wants to save enough money so her father can have his own farm. One day, their lives in Singapore will be a distant memory. When the time comes, their poetry will be all that's left to remind them of the Singapore dream.